In January of 2018, Elaine Wynn, the ex-wife of Steve Wynn, the founder, the CEO, and the chairman of Wynn Resorts, accused her ex-husband of sexual misconduct with a former employee. Steve Wynn publicly admitted to paying $7.5 million in hush money to that employee in 2009, and 1 month later resigned and sold all interest in his company. However, that was not the end of all the allegations towards Steve, and just the beginning of unwanted attention and change for the company. This presentation is for Management 7160, Spring 2019, and prepared by University of Memphis MBA candidates Samuel Berry, Jordan Miller, Ridish Patel, Jason Powell, and Bryson Steinmeier. Our analysis of Wynn Resorts is comprised of 5 parts. The first 2 parts will examine the core elements of Wynn Resorts, their history, structure, financials, current events, and litigation. We then will explore opportunities and threats Wynn faces and their competitive forces. We will conclude this presentation by identifying strategic decisions supported by our analysis. Steve Wynn was a visionary casino mogul who created some of the most legendary Vegas casinos. The Mirage, Treasure Island, and Bellagio played pivotal roles in the expansion of the Vegas Strip in the 1990s, giving Steve Wynn the unofficial title, King of Vegas. To much surprise, in 2000, MGM acquired the Mirage properties for $4.4 billion, as Steve Wynn spurned an offer from Trump Hotels and Casinos. This appeared to be the end of Steve's run in Vegas. However, he and his wife Elaine soon purchased the old Desert Inn, and in 2002, with the help of business partner Kazuo Okada, took Wynn Resorts public and global. In 2005, Wynn Resorts Las Vegas opened, and 2006, Wynn Resorts opened internationally in the gaming capital of the world, Macau. Power and struggles and drama soon followed. Okada's relationship with the Wynn Resorts ruptured after he decided to continue a development in the Philippines by himself. This feud and lawsuit with Okada centered on his bribing government officials and fraudulent actions. Litigation continued till last year when Wynn Resorts was forced to settle the lawsuit in order to allow Steve Wynn to sell his shares as he severed his relationship with Wynn Resorts. Steve and Elaine went through a very bitter divorce where she agreed to give up voting rights to her shares but remained on the board till 2015. After being kicked off, she began waging proxy wars, getting shareholders to vote members off the board that blackballed her. Her fights with Steve Wynn continued, and in 2018, she exposed Steve's indiscretions and supported former employees to come forward, which led to Steve Wynn's exit and settling multiple lawsuits and defending his reputation. Last year, a 6-year lawsuit was dropped between Elaine and Wynn Resorts, resulting in the company giving her an undisclosed payout for damages. Elaine remains the single largest shareholder with the firm and has made it known she'll rid Wynn Resorts of her ex-husband's crony, Matt Maddox, the current CEO and president. Wynn Resorts is a Fortune 500 company with 25,000 employees worldwide and a reported $6.3 billion in revenue in 2018. It is headquartered in Las Vegas, Nevada, with an international division in Macau, China. Hospitality, tourism, and gambling are their core competencies, and revenue is generated through those activities. The U.S. operations are regulated on the federal and state level, and Macau is heavily regulated by the Chinese government. There have been some changes since Steve Wynn exited the company, but there are only a few notables. The new chairman of the board is Philip Sater, who previously was the chairman of Nordstrom Incorporated, and before that, the CEO and chairman of Harrah's. Matthew Maddox is currently the CEO and president. He previously was an investment banker at Bank of America, joined Wynn Resorts in 2002. He relocated to Macau in 2003 to take the role of CFO Macau. 2013, he was appointed president and CFO of the firm and became the successor to Steve Wynn in 2018. He has been in an ongoing power struggle with Elaine Wynn. Ellen Whitmore is the new vice president and general counsel. She replaces Kim Sinatra, who received a large cash settlement to leave the company as she was involved in covering up Steve Wynn's indiscretions. And of course, there's Elaine Wynn. Wynn Resorts consists of 5, soon to be 6, destination luxury casino resorts. The Vegas Strip consists of Wynn Las Vegas and Encore. Macau, China consists of Wynn Macau, Encore Macau, and the Wynn Palace. A sixth property is scheduled to open June 24th, Encore Boston Harbor in Massachusetts. Wynn Resorts has high brand recognition and is known for its high amenities and unmatched luxury, with suites that can run over $100,000 a night. The firm is also known for their extensive art collection, which is installed in public spaces on their properties. Even if one cannot afford to stay at a Wynn resort, their brand and reputation for opulence brings customers willing to spend high dollars for an experience in their casinos, restaurants, and leisure spaces.
Current projects and developments. At Wynn Las Vegas, there's currently construction of 430,000 square feet of additional meeting and convention space. In addition to this, they have also begun the design and site preparation for redeveloping the Wynn Las Vegas golf course, which was closed in Q4 of 2017. The total project budget is estimated to be approximately $425 million. They're expecting to reopen the golf course in Q4 of 2019, followed by the additional meeting and convention space in Q1 of 2020. In Macau, they're currently renovating the Wynn Club gaming area. Once completed, the enhanced space will consist of 40 mass market table games, a refurbished high-limit slot area, 2 new restaurants, and approximately 7,400 square feet of retail space with greater pedestrian access. Total project budget is estimated to be approximately $62 million. The gaming enhancements and new restaurants are expected to open in Q3 of 2019, with retail space expected to open in Q4 of 2019. Boston currently represents the greatest amount of funding towards projects and development, as Wynn is currently constructing Encore Boston Harbor, an integrated resort in Everett, Massachusetts, adjacent to Boston. Currently, it's expected to open in June of 2019 and will contain a hotel, waterfront boardwalk, meeting convention space, casino space, a spa, retail offerings, and food and beverage outlets. The total project budget is estimated to be $2.6 billion. Major news. Wynn recently donated more than $1 million to numerous charities across Massachusetts as the state gaming regulators continue mulling whether Wynn Resorts remains suitable to hold a casino license for its $2.6 billion Encore Boston Harbor. This comes off the back of an investigation that concluded that top execs at Wynn were helping to cover up sexual misconduct allegations against founder and former CEO Steve Wynn. Wynn Resorts and Scientific Games have also announced a partnership to support the launch of Wynn Resorts' unique digital sports betting and iGaming applications in the U.S. Overseas, Wynn scrapped a multi-billion-dollar takeover plan to acquire one of Australia's largest casinos, Crown Resorts, after the Australian casino operator issued a statement in regards to the proposal. Wynn cited premature disclosure of preliminary discussions as a cause of termination. The proposed deal would have been seen as a potential hedge against Wynn's operations in Macau, where its licenses are currently up for review in 2022, and where the company made nearly 75% of its $6.72 billion revenue in 2018. On a more positive note, Wynn Resorts is rated the highest scoring hotel company in the world by Forbes magazine. Litigation and Wynn Resorts have been synonymous with one another since 2014, when the first sexual misconduct allegations surfaced against Steve Wynn, former CEO and founder of Wynn Resorts. Earlier this year, Nevada found Wynn suitable to hold its gaming license, but levied a record $20 million fine against the company. In the Nevada complaint against Wynn, it gave insights into its own investigation, finding a pattern of executive behavior that was worthy of disciplinary action, such as failure to act on harassment reports. But nonetheless, the company was still found suitable. This spurred Massachusetts Gaming Commission into reviewing Wynn Resorts' gaming license, after discovering the former executives and lawyers were working together for years to cover up employee allegations of sexual misconduct by Steve Wynn. The cover-ups included monetary settlements and contracts that threatened lawsuits if the former employees ever spoke up about the allegations. Wynn Reports is currently investigating whether it should ban Steve Wynn from all of its properties and is working on a plan to prohibit all top leaders from having any social contact with Wynn whatsoever. In addition to this, there are still litigation troubles occurring with Elaine Wynn, former spouse of Steve Wynn, who is also the largest shareholder of Wynn Resorts. After a disappointing end to 2018, the year 2019 has been an eventful one for Wynn Resorts so far. The stock, which witnessed a sharp decline in 2018, has gained 21.4% year to date, outperforming the industry's 18.3% rally. This can be primarily attributed to solid Las Vegas operations performance. However, earnings miss for the third straight quarter does remain a concern. As stated earlier, Wynn Resorts generates a solid share of its revenues from the Macau resorts. Apart from the gaming business in Macau, the company has been increasingly focusing on boosting non-gaming revenues. Given the decent visitation pattern in Macau, the infrastructure development, and the government's efforts to boost tourism, non-gaming sources are expected to drive revenues higher moving forward. Meanwhile, in order to boost performance in Las Vegas, the company has remodeled rooms at its properties and the Baccarat pit, not to mention construction to add additional meeting convention space and a redesigned golf course in the works. Although tourism in Las Vegas has not yet reached pre-recession level, it's on its way to recovery. Notably, the number of visits has been increasing every year. With the improving job scenario and stabilizing gas prices, the consumer spending environment in the domestic markets is improving. Backed by optimism surrounding tourism in Las Vegas and increased visitation pattern, revenues are likely to grow. Moreover, the company's casino resort is expected to open in Massachusetts in June of 2019 to help strengthen its presence domestically. In the fourth quarter, revenues from Las Vegas operations rose 3.1% year over year to $393.6 million. The upside can be attributed to a decline in casino and non-casino revenues. Also, casino revenues improved 3.5% to $104.8 million. Total non-casino revenues grew 2.9% year over year to $288 million. Room revenues were up 10.8% to $117.9 million. Also, RevPAR, or revenues per available room, surged 13% to $279. Occupancy rate was at 88.6% compared to 82.1% a year ago in the previous quarter.
Now that we know some important background information regarding Wynn Resorts' business model, company structure, current financial standing, major news headlines, and so forth, we can next begin to analyze the business and what it does well and where things could be improved. The first analysis that we will look at is the SWOT analysis, where Wynn Resorts' internal strengths and weaknesses and its external opportunities and threats can be assessed. First, when looking at Wynn Resorts' strengths, we will notice its recent financial performance. The 2018 negative publicity from Steve Wynn's allegations caused some volatility in the stock price, but so far in 2019, Wynn stock is performing well. Looking at the graph to the right, the stock price began in January 2019 at around $115 per share. And as of April 17th, this stock price had increased to over $143 per share. This positive financial trend is reflected in the net revenues and operating income as well, where in 2015, Wynn's net revenue and operating income were at $4.1 billion and $740 million. And then in 2018, this increased to $6.7 billion in net revenue and $1.3 billion in operating income. The next strength for Wynn Resorts is their brand recognition. Although they only have 2 properties as of now in the United States, most people know the Wynn name. This is largely due to the personal brand that founder Steve Wynn built for himself in his work at many well-known resort and casinos throughout the United States. This brand recognition is also then supported by good reviews and customer satisfaction. Las Vegas Casino and Resorts is a very crowded market with many different options for customers to choose from. With all these options, U.S. News ranks the two Wynn properties in Las Vegas, the Encore and Wynn Las Vegas, at number 2 and number 3 best resorts in Las Vegas for 2019, only behind the Aria Resort. Its Macau properties are no different, with CNN Travel ranking the Wynn Palace as one of the top resorts in that market. Finally, another major strength that Wynn Resort has is its placement of its resorts in casinos. The Macau and Las Vegas gaming market are the top 2 in the world. In 2017, Macau saw close to $33 billion in casino revenue, while Las Vegas saw close to $10 billion. Tapping into these top 2 markets is a big strength for Wynn, and if the economy slows in one country versus the other, at least they're not all in one market and have the other to help support profits. Next, we're going to look at the weaknesses for Wynn Resorts. As previously mentioned, Steve Wynn resigned in 2018. With his resignation, Wynn Resorts lost a very valuable asset who they have depended on since the beginning. Steve's experience of over 50 years in the industry at top casinos such as the Mirage, Golden Nugget, Bellagio, and so on was what allowed the brand to be built and be successful in the first place. This loss of the CEO and founder shakes up the top management structure and is a big hurdle for Wynn moving forward. Then, even though that Steve Wynn has resigned, many people still associate him with the Wynn Resort Company. The allegations that have encompassed the news cycles over the last year have led to the public and potential customers having a negative view of Steve Wynn and therefore the associated company. Steve Wynn resigning from the company will help disassociate the negative view of Steve Wynn from Wynn Resorts, but the initial damage that was done will take some time to repair the company reputation in the eyes of the public. Then one final weakness is the number of casinos and resorts that they manage in comparison to competitors like MGM and other large resort companies. The pie chart on the left represents the market share of casinos in the Macau market. Wynn does have 3 resorts in Macau and has a relatively large market share at about 15%, but not quite as large as Galaxy Resorts and Sands China that have close to 22% market share. This Wynn market share dips even more when looking at the Las Vegas market that is represented in the chart on the right. Here, Wynn Resorts holds only about 8% of the market share. This is a weakness in that customers and gamblers have many options to choose from that are not Wynn. Now that we have analyzed some internal strengths and weaknesses for the company, we can look at external opportunities and threats. There are many opportunities for the company to move toward, including expanding into emerging markets. For example, in 2011, Massachusetts announced it would allow Las Vegas-style gambling. Wynn Resorts saw this as a big opportunity to expand to the eastern U.S. and announced the largest single-phase construction project in the history of Massachusetts called the Encore Boston Harbor. This $2.5 billion project would expand its footprint and enter into a completely new market to attract a new clientele. In addition to Boston, Wynn Resorts is looking for new ways to expand its footprint in the established Las Vegas market. A new 400,000 square foot convention center is being built in Las Vegas, and Wynn initially planned to build a $3 billion beach-style resort called Paradise Park, but scrapped the idea about 6 months ago. Instead, they are going to redesign a golf course between the Encore and Wynn Las Vegas to increase revenue from golf fairs and attract more customers to the properties. The next opportunity that they have is to acquire other companies. In February, they made an offer to Crown Resorts, the largest resort company in Australia. Wynn then withdrew its $10 billion takeover attempt after the news got leaked. Although this deal fell through, similar acquisitions offer a big opportunity for Wynn. They already operate in the 2 largest gaming markets, Macau and Las Vegas, but could benefit from acquiring already established companies in other markets such as Australia, Singapore, the Philippines, Japan, or other parts of Europe to diversify their locations and portfolio. Another opportunity for Wynn is to use their large real estate holdings to free up cash. The picture on the right is a visual representation that shows that Wynn Resorts owns many acres of valuable real estate on the Las Vegas Strip. Many large resort companies have sold their properties to real estate investment trusts. For example, MGM Resorts set up MGM Growth Properties LLC that now controls about $17 billion worth of its real estate. A March 2019 article on the investment website The Motley Fool estimates that Wynn Resorts could free up close to $5 to $10 billion worth of cash by using a similar approach to help decrease their close to $10 billion worth of debt. A final opportunity is for Wynn Resorts to expand their mobile and online gambling footprint. This is a threat that I will talk about soon, but Wynn has an opportunity to try to neutralize this threat. About a week ago, Wynn Resorts announced a partnership with Scientific Games to start expanding their online and mobile approach. This partnership would help Wynn in setting up mobile sports betting and iGaming applications, which is a big opportunity in the ever-evolving tech world, where people are utilizing smartphones and web-based technologies more and more. Now we will move into the final piece of the SWOT analysis, the external threats facing Wynn Resorts. The Trump administration has been tough recently on trade imbalances between the US and China in terms of increasing tariffs and potentially other economic barriers. If the trade war continues, this could lead to a decline in tourism to Las Vegas. In 2017, Las Vegas saw close to 250,000 visitors from China, and some of them being high-rolling baccarat players that increased casino revenue over $1 billion, according to the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. A decline in this tourism from China due to the trade war is a major threat to the Las Vegas economy. Next, economic instability is continually a threat that faces resort visiting and casino gameplay. As you can see in the graph to the right, casino spending by customers is higher in years when the economy is doing well. The large dip in casino spending came right after the major recession that affected the country in 2008. No one knows when the next decline in the economy will be, but it is always a looming threat to the hospitality industry. The next threats facing Wynn Resorts revolves around legal, licensing, and governmental policy issues. Each state has to approve if and what kind of gambling they will allow between their lines. This includes physical standing casinos, lotteries, online gambling, sports betting, and much more. Wynn's gambling license in Massachusetts is currently under attack due to the Steve Wynn allegations. Their new mobile application partnership in developing online gaming and sports betting will face many barriers due to which states will allow this kind of gambling in their state. These are big threats that can impede Wynn's expansion and growth opportunities. Finally, rise of new established business models and technologies are a major threat to Wynn as well. This includes Airbnb short-term vacation rentals, as well as already established online gambling platforms such as Bravada, DraftKings, Cafe Casino, and much more. In 2018, Las Vegas homeowners took in 718,400 Airbnb guests, generating revenue of over $100 million. This is a big threat to Las Vegas resorts, including Wynn, in that it decreases the occupancy rates and the amount of visitors coming to their properties. The rise of online gambling and sports betting is also a major threat to Wynn casinos. Although Wynn is working on the technology, there are already numerous established websites out there. This decreases the amount of visitors coming to Las Vegas looking for their gambling fix because they can do it from the comfort of their own home. Overall, Wynn Resorts has had a positive 2019 despite many drawbacks last year, and has many opportunities to be successful in the future despite a lot of threats it faces.
All right, this portion of the presentation is going to cover Porter's 5-force analysis. The 5 forces analysis is a framework that we use to analyze kind of the competitive environment for a given company. We look at a variety of different inputs, such as competition, new entrants, buyer power, supplier power, and also the threat of substitutes, all of which can influence a company's profitability, and really, by looking at this, can help drive strategic decision making within the organization. All right, for competition, there are several things that we can look at. The idea is to get an understanding of the competitive rivalry that exists within a given industry. So we can do that by looking at some of the strengths and rating those for our competitors, and understanding our rivals a little bit better, understanding the quality of their products and services to compare with ours. So the first step, what we have here, is just to understand what the market looks like. We know that the casino market is highly active and is highly competitive because of the market share distribution that we see when we look across the casino market. We see that there is a large market share held by Harrah's Entertainment, by MGM Mirage, and Las Vegas Sands. Wynn Resorts falls in, for all intensive purposes, as a third place overall, but there are several other independent and smaller subsets of casinos that overall hold a much larger market share than any single resorts. One of the other aspects that makes competition so high within the casino market is their offerings. Essentially, they're all offering some type of gambling through machines or cards, etc. You've got some similar types of entertainment. This can take the place or take the form of attractions. You can have, singers, dancers, comedy shows. They all typically offer lodging, so your standard hotel to stay overnight. And lastly, most offer standard meeting and convention space. It's a primary source of revenue for casino markets as well, is renting out their space. The idea behind that is bringing in more people to meeting and conventions. They have greater odds of taking advantage of some of the other services provided by a casino market, such as gambling, entertainment, and lodging. So that drives the additional revenue streams. Therefore, for competition, we give the overall rating high, meaning that it is a highly competitive landscape. Looking at the threat of entrance, this is overall rated pretty low. There are a few different contributing factors for this. First and foremost, it's a very heavily regulated industry, especially within the United States. There is a lot of government oversight. There are steep taxes that need to be paid. There is an application process in securing a gaming license. This can take many months to years in some cases to secure. And there are a limited number of applications approved each year. The Gaming Commission typically rewards these to existing companies that are opening new casino resort offerings. So we looked in the previous slide in competition at some of those different casino resorts, such as Harrah's, MGM, and Las Vegas. They can have several different real estate properties and commercially available properties where people can gamble, all under the umbrella of their corporation. And so typically these companies that already have the presence within the casino market are the ones that are being rewarded additional applications to open new locations. Some of the other some of the other barriers to entry are the investment capital. Typically we see this taking the form of $500 million to $1 billion to open up a new casino resort. Looking specifically at target locations where the casino market is most dense, i.e. Las Vegas, there's very limited real estate availability. Most people want to get into the Las Vegas Strip. For all intensive purposes, that is very well built out, and typically we see just a trade and shift in product offerings from different existing casino resorts. For these reasons, the threat of new entrants entering into this market is low. All right, for buyer power, here we're looking at how buyers can influence the overall market, in this case, the casino resorts. Buyer power is medium from a rating perspective compared to a low or high. This is made up of a few different inputs. Gambling outcomes, meaning your odds of winning at a casino when gambling, are not influenced in any capacity by buyers. However, buyers do have a limited influence when it comes to casino resorts setting rates on rooms, which amenities they provide, and what forms of entertainment they provide, such as artists that they book or different acts. All of these things are based on competition from other rivalries. Therefore, the buyer has some limited influence on this because they could always go to a competitor. There is also an exception or a special influence when it comes to the type of comps used to draw in high rollers or people that are spending a lot of money at a casino. Some of the things that come to mind are special penthouse suite rooms with concierge services, a helipad on top of some casino resorts, etc. Therefore, we give the overall buyer-supplier influence a medium rating. Okay, for supplier power or influence, we want to look at the ease in which suppliers can increase their prices. This is based largely on basic supply and demand. In this particular case, supplies refers to alcohol and food that a casino resort would have. Also, it's casino supplies such as poker chips, cards, dice, and then also its casino machines that it would put inside of the casino. The overall supplier availability is very high because it is a generic offering when we talk about alcohol and food, and especially casino supplies. Because there's no real product differentiation, the overall rating or influence of supplier power is low. Lastly, we look at the threat of substitution, which in this case, what we're really trying to analyze and understand is the likelihood of our customers being able to find a different way to secure essentially the same product offering. There are several product alternatives when we compare it to a casino resort. Some of those include online gambling services, which are legal in a variety of different states across the United States, and then fully legal outside of the United States. You have state-run lotteries. There are designated locations for casinos on Native American land, which have different restrictions as far as age requirements to enter and gamble at a casino. Often cruise ships will offer forms of gambling, especially since they go out of U.S. waters. There are offshore casino resorts that offer gambling. And lastly, there are just standard hotel chains where people can find lodging that competes against the existing casino hotel market. So because of these different product alternatives, we give this a threat of substitutes rating medium.
The VRIO analysis of Wynn Resorts looks at some of the most important resources one by one to assess whether these provide sustained competitive advantages. The Wynn Resorts VRIO analysis also summarizes the resources to analyze whether they offer sustained competitive advantage, temporary competitive advantage, competitive parity, or competitive disadvantage. Let's take a closer examination of the Wynn resources and capabilities. Gaming expertise. Wynn Resorts clearly demonstrates expertise in legal gaming in addition to revenues from lodging and entertainment. Gambling is the company's main core competency, and there is a level of expertise needed to maximize profits in gaming. From strategically laying out the gaming machines in the casino to offering special perks and promotions for high rollers, Wynn Resorts has the expertise and experience to succeed in the competitive business of legalized gaming. Make no mistake, Gambling is the key draw at Wynn Resorts. Wynn reputation and brand. Wynn Resorts is the highest scoring brand out of all prestigious hotel companies featured in Forbes Travel Guide's 2019 star ratings. This accomplishment represents an unwavering commitment to excellence as Forbes Travel Guide rates the most exceptional hotels in the world. The Wynn reputation is the platinum of first class, and the brand is well known and sought out among gamblers, travelers, and VIPs. The value of Wynn's reputation and brand is perhaps the company's most valuable resource. Financial resources. The financial resources of Wynn Resorts are highly valuable as these help in investing into external opportunities that arise. These also help Wynn Resorts in combating external threats. Strong financial resources are only possessed by a few companies in the industry. These resources have been acquired by the company through prolonged profits over the years. New entrants and competitors would require similar profits for a long period of time to accumulate these amounts of financial resources. These are used strategically to invest in the right places, making use of opportunities and combating threats. Getting into the casino business literally takes several $billions of upfront investment. Luxury service and products at resorts. Wynn is all about the luxury service and offering the finest products. Wynn Resorts are in strategic locations considered the top gaming destinations, and customer service with outstanding performance help with the company's ability to differentiate their resorts from those in direct competition. The focus on luxury and opulence allows Wynn to attract high-priced customers who are willing to spend their money in luxury casino resorts. In addition to the ultimate customer experience, the company has become one of the most recognized luxury resorts and is constantly improving its operations and striving for perfection. Hence, high rollers continue to return because the experience may change, but the emphasis on extravagance remains. Casino gaming licenses. The Wynn Resorts patents, which in this case take the form of casino gaming licenses, are valuable resources as these allow the firm to sell its products without competitive interference. This results in greater revenue for Wynn Resorts. The licenses are not easily available and are not possessed by many would-be competitors in their main markets. Similar resources to be developed in getting a license for a competitor is also a costly process. The legalized gaming industry is heavily regulated, so the licenses come with additional administrative burden of staying compliant. Wynn devotes a tremendous amount of resources toward obtaining and maintaining selectively awarded gaming licenses. Let's summarize the resources of Wynn Resorts using the VRI framework. Gaming expertise is definitely valuable, but certainly not rare or costly to imitate. As a result, Wynn Resorts is a competitive parity in this regard. The Wynn reputation and brand is valuable and rare, taking years to build, and while it's costly to imitate, we must place an asterisk here because Wynn Resorts has damaged this resource by their own internal issues that have been made public in recent years. As a result of this setback, reputation and brand is not currently being fully exploited by Wynn Resorts, so this must be downgraded to a temporary competitive advantage until the company demonstrates the brand is bigger than Steve Wynn. The financial resources check all the boxes and are a sustained competitive advantage for Wynn Resorts. The luxury service and products at Wynn Resorts are also valuable, rare, costly to imitate, and are exploited, so this is a sustained competitive advantage. Finally, the casino gaming licenses are a yes across the board, representing a sustained competitive advantage. To recap, the major problems overview. The Steve Wynn issue lingers. As referenced throughout this presentation, Steve Wynn problems are the defining major issue for Wynn Resorts. Only time will tell if Wynn Resorts will be able to move past the Steve Wynn era to continue appealing to gamblers, travelers, and other guests. In addition to appealing to customers, the company must also find solid footing with new leadership and management as it enters this new phase in an increasingly competitive gaming industry. The China problems include issues with VIP gamers and trade threats. Macau, the world's largest gambling hub, remains volatile. Slowdown in China and the trade war between Beijing and Washington has impacted the company. Weakening Chinese property prices have impacted the high-end VIP segment. Wynn Resorts has the most exposure in the high-end VIP segment in Macau. However, mass market revenues continue to impress despite enhanced regulations on the gambling enclave, which have caused VIP revenues to decline. Wynn Palace is now Wynn Resort's best performing property, but it isn't as big as it used to be. Given 7 acres of undeveloped land adjacent to the existing site, it's not always the number of hotel rooms or table games that generate revenue. It's getting more out of the resort by enticing the most profitable customers with beautiful attractions. The lack of geographic diversity and debt pose problems. Wynn is not as geographically diverse as the Sands, Macau, or MGM. While all rely on Macau for a good portion of their revenues, if not most, Sands, who also owns the Marina Bay Sands in Singapore, Macau operates in the Philippines, and MGM has its numerous regional casinos in the U.S. Dismal Las Vegas performance has also been weighing the company's performance lately. Revenues from Las Vegas operations declined in 2018 owing to decline to both casino and non-casino revenues. Further, Wynn Resorts' heavily reliance on debt financing remains a concern. At the end of the third quarter 2018, total outstanding debt accounted for $9 billion, including $3 billion of Wynn Las Vegas related debt, $4.25 billion of Macau debt, and $985 million the parent company. Moreover, the company may fail to finance the upcoming projects owing to a higher debt burden. Also, any downturn in the macroeconomic and credit market conditions is likely to make it difficult for Wynn to pay for refinanced debts going ahead. The gaming industry is shifting. Online and mobile gaming is the biggest threat to brick-and-mortar operators such as Wynn Resorts. As sports gaming increases in states and online gaming is prevalent outside the United States, companies such as Wynn Resorts must quickly adapt to those challenges which are eating into the market share. Just recently, the Tennessee House passed an online gaming bill to allow wagering in the state. Some gamblers prefer the atmosphere of casinos, but when you can wager from the cell phone in your pocket. The lure of casino decreases, especially among future generations. Changes in hotels and tourism. Lodging is a major source of revenue for Wynn Resorts, and the threat of Airbnb and other short-term rental platforms pose a serious threat. The resorts are built with the goal of attracting guests to book rooms and enjoy staying on site. These resorts have hotel rooms in the thousands. There are approximately 2,716 hotel rooms and suites at Wynn Las Vegas, 2,034 suites at the Encore. The number of Airbnbs in Las Vegas is growing steadily as referenced previously, and this trend is global. Limited expansion opportunity. Wynn Resorts has been on a growth tear since opening Wynn Palace in Macau 2 years ago, but that's not the end of the company's ambitions. There's room to expand in existing markets like Las Vegas and Macau, and the new markets to conquer like Australia, Japan, and Boston. But these possibilities for expansion are limited to where gambling is allowed and where licenses exist. Being in the top 2 gambling markets is valuable, but any new market entrance is likely to be profitable at the current markets. Boston Harbor Gaming License. Encore Boston Harbor, located in Everett, Massachusetts, is scheduled to open this June 23rd. It's already taking hotel reservations, but it's up to the Massachusetts Gaming Commission if it will be allowed to open on time under its current ownership and local management team. The threat of a license denial or suspension is very real, but the more likely outcome is a requirement to pay a large fine that would be put to use to combat sexual misconduct in the workplace. Wynn has $2.5 billion invested in this new casino, so there is clearly a lot on the line, with this being the most pressing and immediate problem. A decision is imminent, but a denial from the Commission would also be a major setback for Massachusetts and Boston, who are counting on the revenue. Strategic solutions. The question of the 2 holdovers from the Steve Wynn era need to be resolved. CEO Matt Maddox was Wynn's right-hand man. The single largest shareholder was Elaine Wynn, his former wife. While the rest of the company's old leadership has been sent packing, the 2 of them remain. In terms of optics, the company would definitely look better if these 2 reminders of the tumultuous past were gone. The company's revamped board of directors could end that drama by firing Maddox and forcing Elaine Wynn to reduce her ownership stake, but has chosen not to. The board should fire Maddox and do everything possible to reduce Elaine Wynn's share in the company. Wynn Resorts needs to commit to the harassment prevention program it has adopted and strive to be an international leader in this front. This was mentioned earlier in the presentation, but it's worth repeating that in April 2018, the company's board of directors elected 3 new female directors, resulting in a board that is nearly 50% women. Diversity on the board and management is smart, and this commitment needs to remain in place. Macau still has room for growth, however, it may not be as robust as it once was. And once Crown Resorts completes its new city resort, it could be a key to the industry's revitalization, much the way the opening of the Wynn Palace helped launch the rebound in Macau. Wynn should re-enter the negotiations to purchase Crown Resorts in Australia because this is a burgeoning market. Many of the Chinese VIP are even gaming down there in the Australian area. Japan is expected to generate $10 billion or more in annual gaming revenue, and with only a few gaming concessions coming available, Japan is a region worth watching for Wynn Resorts. Wynn should make a strong play for one of the 3 licenses because the Wynn brand and commitment to luxury is a perfect fit for the Japanese. Wynn must become a leader in new gaming technology as bets continue migrating online and on mobile devices. Scientific Games creates systems and services for casinos, lotteries, online gaming, and sports betting, as well as other related gambling services. Under a recently announced partnership with Scientific Games, support be given for the launch of Wynn's digital sports betting and internet gaming applications in the U.S. Wynn plans to use Scientific Games products and services in its rollouts of electronic games in New Jersey, and Wynn brand is well known and should appeal to existing and new customers who like the reputation that Wynn offers in the digital space. Thus, the partnership between Scientific Games and Wynn is perfect. The perks can be given to online consumers that can be realized in the on-site resorts is another advantage of further developing out the new gaming technology. In an effort to strengthen foothold in the gaming industry, the Wynn Resort should bank on sports betting, following legalization outside Nevada. The recent Supreme Court decision broke Nevada's monopoly on the betting market and opened doors for other states to enter sports betting business. New online sports gamers who might not trust fantasy sports betting outfits such as DraftKings are great potential customers for Wynn. Also, a state to legalize these operators with their experience and reputation of Wynn can benefit from a first mover advantage. Wynn's primary immediate focus must remain the successful opening of Boston Harbor. Assuming the license is maintained, demonstrating strong casino revenues in Boston might lead to more states and cities considering casino gaming as a method of providing revenue boost to seemingly shrinking budgets. Boston is a good test case for Wynn to also show it has bounced back from the Steve Wynn fallout. Billy Vasadias, chief executive of R&R Partners, the firm that markets Las Vegas for the city's Convention and Visitors Authority, said, "Mr. Wynn was an idea generator. None of us in the world are irreplaceable," he said, "but that kind of raw imagination is pretty rare. Just like Apple has had to move on from Steve Jobs, Wynn Resorts must move on from Steve Wynn. The next few years are critical to the company, demonstrating that Wynn can stand alone and apart from Steve Wynn." General Charles de Gaulle famously said, "The graveyards are full of indispensable men." We believe Wynn Resorts will be successful for many years and as long after Steve Wynn is gone from this earth. Perhaps one of the most interesting tidbits from the pursuit of an MBA is a historical look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average. When it was originally formed, the Dow was composed of just 12 companies, including American Tobacco, Chicago Gas, U.S. Rubber, and American Cotton Oil. Today, the Dow includes 30 multinational companies. Throughout the Dow's history, it has changed its component stocks more than 50 times, basing those changes partly on innovation and shifting American economy. Gambling has taken place in some form or other for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and is inextricably linked to the history of humanity. The first casinos or gambling houses appeared in Italy in the 17th century. The Vedado was established in Venice in 1638 to provide a controlled gambling environment, and casinos started to appear throughout continental Europe in the 19th century. Early settlers from France brought gambling to the United States, and steamboats traveling up and down the Mississippi River, likely rolling past Memphis, became the first venues for gambling in this nation. Wynn Resorts has faced recent challenges and struggles, but if one were to place a bet, then the odds would be very strong that Wynn Resorts will continue to prosper as long as people's desires to gamble endures. Thank you for watching this team presentation by Samuel Berry, Jordan Miller, Ridish Patel, Jason Powell, and Bryson Steinmeier.